Hello everyone, welcome to Pokédex, a channel where I build decks for the Pokemon trading card game. This is the first time that I will try editing my video, so the match was pre-recorded and then I add the commentary on top. Just keep that in mind while you are watching. So we're going to be looking into a Bunnelby deck, and it's the first time that I show a Bunnelby deck in this channel, mostly because, I tried a lot of Bunnelby builds, but this is the first one that I'm actually happy about. The thing about this deck is that it's not my original list. I heard about it from a player named Chepoke, and I played a match against him, and he told me he was a viewer for this channel, and he was really excited about this deck, and for good reason. I think it's actually a pretty nice looking deck, and he told me that he had a deck list on a forum called Hate Trainer, so I logged into Hate Trainer, I registered, and I looked into his list, and it's pretty cool, so I decided to build my own take on the list. So let's just start looking into the deck. It's, as I said, a Bunnelby deck, so this is our main and hopefully only attacker. It has Omega Barrage, which is an ancient trait, which allows us to attack twice. The first attack on Bunnelby for colorless energy is Burrow. You discard the top card of your opponent's deck, so this points us into a milling strategy, right, where we just discard all the cards from our opponent's deck, and he is unable to draw a card at the beginning of his turn, and he just loses. Then the second attack is Rototiler, which allows us to shuffle a card from our discard pile into our deck, so it actually makes it so we don't deck out ourselves, so that's pretty nice. Both strategies point us into a milling deck, and because Licensed Trump card was banned, as you guys know, the opponent does not have an easy way to shuffle stuff back into his deck. Anyway, so Bunnelby is really nice in that regard. The thing about this deck is that it doesn't go all in with a milling strategy, actually. This kind of behaves more like the Puffy Toad lists that we had previously, where you build Slurpuffs and use Tasting to draw a lot of cards and just play a million hammers, and then you would play Licensed Trump cards, shuffle all the hammers back into the deck, and then use Tasting again to draw a million cards again and draw into the hammers and play them. This plays kind of similarly in that we want to build the Slurpuffs. At the beginning of the game, we will be playing a lot of hammers and focusing on that, and just using the Rototiler ability to shuffle the hammers back. Sometimes we go all in with a Burrow in some matches, I guess, but it's not really that common. Usually it's like the finishing move, because we want to be shuffling stuff back into the deck. Well, I guess if there's not really anything that we really want to shuffle, I guess discarding the opponent's card is a useful secondary option. So there's that. In his original list, Chepoke was playing a couple of Slurpuffs with Sweet Veil and a couple of them with Tasting ability, but I think that the Tasting is really important in this deck. We really want to draw a million cards. We want to get to the point where we don't really have a lot of cards in our deck, because that means that if we use the Rototiler, we will be putting 2 cards from a discard pile into the deck, which means that we will be drawing into them 100% of the time, basically. So that means that we are drawing exactly into the cards that we want, and we won't be milling ourselves, because, well, if we shuffle cards back and then we draw them at the beginning of our turn, we won't be losing the game. So we can just go crazy and play hammers every single turn and stuff like that. That's how this deck operates. So I think having the Tasting Slurpuff is really important. Of course, that means that we can only play a single one of the Sweet Veil Slurpuff, and it's actually a pretty important card for this deck strategy. Because being immune to the opponent's lasers and all that is really important, and we're also playing a couple of Moon in here for long distance hypnosis, which is also really important to protect our own Bunnelby from it. So, because sometimes the flips don't end up our way. So yeah, this Slurpuff is really important, and because this deck does not draw prizes, I understand playing a split between both of these Slurpuffs. But actually, now that I think of it, I think I'd rather just, if this is really that important, I think maybe we could cut it altogether and just play Virizion, for example. The problem with Virizion, of course, is that we're also playing Silent Labs. Silent Lab is in here mostly because of Keldeo. It's really annoying for this deck, so the ability to shut off the opponent's Keldeos is really cool sometimes. And I guess if the opponent is playing a deck with lasers and Keldeo, like some Seismitoad decks do, Verizon wouldn't really work, so this Slurpuff is better. Hopefully it won't end up in the prizes, and in the match that I played it was actually relevant and it did not end up in the prizes, so that was pretty nice. So yeah, that's kind of something that we have to think about and work out with this deck. But for this moment I'm playing one of the Sweet Veil and 3 of the Tasting. Why does this show up before and then, okay, whatever. As I said, there's 2 Moon in here for long distance hypnosis, because sometimes we cannot have the Slurpuff out that soon. We will be using Muna really tactically. Sometimes we don't really need to attack, so long distance hypnosis is just better to use. So yeah, it's definitely not something that we can go all out with unless we get to the board state that I talked about, where we have the Sweet Veil Slurpuff. But it's actually pretty decent Muna anyways, because if the opponent is playing Seismitoads with all the hammers and all that, and we don't really have a Bunnelby going, and actually having a Bunnelby going against a Seismitoad with a lot of hammers is not the best thing in the world, because we can't play, if they are attacking us and item locking us, we can't really play our own hammers anyway. So yeah, Muna is a decent option just to make sure. Well, we can't really make sure, but it grants us a nice out to a Seismitoad. They might just get stuck and not being able to attack, and having a turn without item lock is really important. So yeah, 2 Muna in here, I think it's still pretty nice. Then we have 2 Acrobike for extra card draw. Maybe we could exchange this for Trainer's Mail. I'm not really sure. I'm keeping as faithful to the original list as I can, so I'm playing the Acrobikes. There's 4 Crushing Hammer. There's 1 Energy Retrieval. Actually, Energy Retrieval and other cards like the Sacred Ash are in the same camp, in that they're cards that shuffle stuff back into the deck. They're not really 100% mandatory, because of course Bunnelby can shuffle the cards itself, but having a card that can actually shuffle more than 1 card at the same time is pretty nice. So if a Bunnelby shuffles their Energy Retrieval and then we play it the following turn, it's 2 energies that are coming to our hand, and not only 1. So that's really, really good in that regard. There's 1 Enhanced Hammer only to round out the hammer package, but then we also have some supporters that remove energy. We'll get to that in a second. There's a Target Whistle in here. He said in his original post on Hey Trainer that Target Whistle is really important to get to win the Groudon matchup, and I guess what he wants to do with the Target Whistle is make sure that the opponent has a Pokemon like something that's not Primal Groudon basically on his field, that we can bring to the front with Lysander and keep stuck there. I guess that's the point with Target Whistle. Only 1 though. There's 4 Ultra Ball to grab our Pokemon, really important. 4 Via Seeker to grab our trainers, our supporters, also really, really important here. We want to get a lot of trainers back. Only 1 Colrus for massive draws. We have 2 Lysander, 3 N, 4 Sycamore, and then really, really important are the supporters that remove the energy, like the Team Flare Grunt and the Xerosic, which also removes tools. That's really, really nice. We have to play like 2 of each of these disruptive supporters, like the Lysander and the energy removal ones, because we want to make sure that they don't get prized. That's, I think, really important. Then we're playing also a couple of Silent Labs. As I said, Chepoke said this is against the Keldeo match, and it makes a lot of sense. Then we have 3 Float Stones, really good with our Slurpuffs, and 1 Life Dude. It's the ace spec for this deck, and it works really nicely with Bunnelby. It's actually one of the main cards in the deck if we do not prize it, because we can get it back with Rototiler over and over again. So the opponent will be drawing a lot less prizes than they want to, and we can have our engine going a lot longer, which will hopefully result in a lot of wins that way. We also have a couple of Headringers in here, more energy suppression, so to speak. Sometimes they also work really well with a Xerosic, because we might remove the item from our opponent and just play the Headringer there. And then we have 6 Fairy Energy, because they work with a Slurpuff, Sweet Veil, if we have the energy there. If we were playing the Verizon, I guess it's Grass instead of Fairy. So that's the deck. Let's just jump right into the match. I have a nice one for you guys, and see you guys then. Okay, so we're going to be playing against Jellyface with a Water Psychic colorless deck. Tails, the opponent is going to go first. Yeah, the opponent chooses to go first. And we show him a Slurpuff, so I don't really know, I don't really think the opponent knows what's coming anyways. Even after seeing the Slurpuff, because this is not your typical deck. And the opponent is playing a Seismitoad deck of some sort. Might be in trouble here. I don't really know how well this fares against Seismitoad. I'm just thinking I want to be using this Ultra Ball to grab the Swirlix as fast as I can, just so that we can assemble our Slurpuff really quickly. The opponent plays a double colorless energy because he does not suspect that we're playing Hammers, I guess. And there's the Repeat Ball. It's kind of a weird card to be playing in a Seismitoad deck. I think my opponent is playing Bats, because you usually see the Repeat Balls in decks with Bats. I'm not a fan of them, and we play our Hammer, and our Hammer hits, which is awesome. And right now, just want to play this Ultra Ball, and I guess I'll discard the Target Whistle. I don't think it's going to be really good in this match, and I'm just going to grab the Swirlix here, yeah, as fast as I can. I want to assemble this as fast as I can, and now I'm just going to N. We got the Floatstone, which is nice. I'm trying to play as many items as I can this turn, because I don't think I will have a huge chance to do so later. And here I discard the Hammer because I don't think I'll play it next turn, and I'm going for the Muna because at this point there's really nothing that I want to shuffle, and it's really too early to start milling our opponent, so let's just use Muna's ability, and it hits, so perfect. We got our opponent to sleep, and we can use Borrow as a nice bonus. I also discarded an energy from that Ultra Ball instead of the other Ultra Ball, just because if this happened, and it did, which is wonderful, it just would be more upside. I guess the opponent could also use a Hammer on us, and then we would be in trouble. But as I said, using the Bunnelby is not the best thing in the world for us right now, so if we didn't get to use it again, it wouldn't really matter too much, I think, at this point at least. So I just kept the Ultra Ball because if everything goes according to plan, we will be playing the Slurpuff and using the Ultra Ball next turn. That I think is going to be the best. Okay, my opponent Lysanders out the Muna. Once again, having the Bunnelby there is not the most important thing in the world, and we actually draw into the Swirlix. That's really good. So let's just play the Slurpuff and draw a card with it. And we got an N, which I'm not going to play because the opponent did not play an energy. I don't know if it's because the Seismitoad stayed asleep, so might as well not play anything and just save it because he knows I'm playing Hammers. And here I don't use the Muna because obviously the opponent is already asleep, and he stays asleep. That's insane. That's really, really good for us. I mean, the opponent stayed asleep through 3 turns now, so that Muna was really key there. And the opponent missed the flip on the scoop, which was really, really nice, so there was really nothing he could have done because all the flips have gone into our favor, so we're kind of lucky this match. Our opponent ends, he gets the double colorless energy on his Seismitoad final, and then a super scoop up, which fails once again. I guess we will get another turn with items, which is wonderful for us, especially because I'm seeing that Life Steal in our hand, just smiling at us. And our opponent plays a Golbat targeting the Bunnelby. I guess that's fine. If we get that Life Steal down, he's not going to draw any prize out of that. There's really nothing that I want to be shuffling back, but I'll go aggressive with this Bunnelby if I have to. Okay, our opponent just wakes up, and we did draw the enhanced hammer, which was insane in the turn that we were not item locked. So at this point I'm just going to discard the Silent Lab. I don't think it's really that important here. I'd rather just have my Muna being able to put the opponent to sleep if we can. And I got the second Slurpuff down. I play the Life Dew, of course, and then Sycamore. We got the third Swirlix. That's really nice. Let's play the Bicycle. Okay, we have an energy, which would be nice, but I have the energy retrieval in hand, so might as well just grab the Sycamore for next turn, and then we can use Tasting twice. Oh, nice. There's the Team Flare Grunt. It's really, really good. Let's just grab the energy while we can. put one on Muna because we might be able to retreat next turn, we don't know. So let's just use long distance hypnosis. This time we fail, so we are the ones to fall asleep, but we will have a couple of turns to wake up, so... And we do wake up on the first try, so... Can't really complain about the flips this game. We only failed this Muna one, but doesn't really matter too much at this point. I think right now my opponent has a decent chance that he knocks out that Muna. He can play a bat, play a laser, something like that. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully all the setup that we did was enough, and it focused the damage from the bats on the Bunnelby, which he won't be killing. I think I'd just go for the Slurpuff if it was me. I think the opponent is kind of too scared of the Bunnelby. Okay, there's an N. And our hand is not that bad, actually. We got a Slurpuff that heals the special conditions, so if we manage to get another Muna going, we can use it, and it will also make us immune to lasers, which is going to be fine, I guess. Okay, there's the laser, and there's the knockout. Our opponent, I don't really know what he's thinking about right now, because it's pretty... Okay, so there's the Shaman, so he's going to draw cards. 3 cards. Yeah. We will be item locked, finally. So, no real point in shuffling hammers back or anything like that. My opponent's just making the most out of his turn, and he knocks out our Muna. Doesn't really matter if we wake up or not. Just going with a Bunnelby, which was a mistake in retrospect, just because we could go with a Slurpuff and then retreat after drawing a couple of cards. So yeah, that would mean an extra card in our hand, so it was definitely a mistake. I am going to use Tasting before I play my supporters, because I might draw into another supporter that I'd rather play, and we do. There's the Team Flare Grunt, which just removes the energy from the Seismitoad. And then I drop the energy down, but I immediately regret and undo that, because the opponent might play a hammer next turn and would be really screwed. So if I need to retreat from the Slurpuffs, I can do that so anyways, just by playing the energy the following turn. So right now I'm just going to shuffle back the Team Flare Grunt, because the opponent is going to item lock us, and I want to make sure that I have the biggest chance that I have of drawing into another hammer or another hammer effect. So if I draw into the Team Flare Grunt, that's really good for us. The opponent knocks us out with the Golbat, which is unfortunate, but it's not drawing any prizes because we have the Life Dew there. Okay, there's a VS Seeker for, I guess, an N. Yeah, that's the only supporter that draws cards that my opponent played. And our hand is actually really good, because we just drew into the Team Flare Grunt. So we can just remove that energy the following turn. So even though we're item locked here, just going to put this Swirlix down. I'm going to draw 3 cards out of this. Alright. And we actually drew another one, another Team Flare Grunt. That's insane. Let's just remove that thing. And how many? Yeah, we got the 4 DCE from our opponent. That's huge here. So I don't really know what my opponent could be playing that allowed him to item lock us next turn. I don't think he can in any way, so I'm just going to protect this Slurpuff from lasers. I'm going to go with the other one, because we can just drop the Floatstone afterwards. Because our opponent is not going to be item locking us for sure. That's insane. Yeah, my opponent could also knock us out with the Zubat or something like that. The Crobat, I mean, not the Zubat. Or the damage from the putting down a Crobat and then attacking with it. I think that's his best strategy right now, just because he's not going to be able to item lock us, and we have a lot of hammers going. So if our opponent plays a Water Energy on a Seismitoad, for example, we just go crazy with the hammers. I think his best bet would be to try to scoop his Seismitoad and just start attacking with the bats. My opponent is taking a long time to think, and it makes sense, because kind of have him in an awkward position. Let's just see how this goes. So I think we are in a really good spot right now. This is the time that we want to draw into the Bunnelbys and start shuffling stuff back. In the early game, not so much. We just want to assemble our Slurpuff line. And as I said, just having a lot of Slurpuffs, having a lot of card draw is really insane, because they basically draw into themselves. And at this point I can just draw a million Slurpuffs. I can use this VS Secret to grab back that Team Flare Grunt. I'd rather just have the Team Flare Grunts in our deck, because they are energy removal. That's all we need right now. We don't really need anything else. We had the Head Ringer, we can just put it on the Shaman. We got the energy, so I think we can safely end this turn, because we will be shuffling stuff back into the deck, but I don't think I will ever have a window to play that N again, so might as well. And I got the second Bunnelby right there, which is really nice, might as well play it. And then Rototiler, let's just shuffle stuff back into the deck. Right now we have the Hammers that are looking really nice. We also have the Team Flare Grunts over there, so I think I'm going for an Hammer and a Life too. I don't think my opponent has a lot of ways to kill our guys, but might as well protect ourselves from those bats, so let's just shuffle the Life too. So hopefully we can draw into them and put them in, or not into them, into it, because it's only a single Life due, it's an ace pack, and put it on that Bunnelby. And I don't really think there's a lot much that we want to be shuffling into our deck, so might as well just go aggressive and start milling our opponent. I think we can do that actually. So yeah, it's not looking great for my opponent. We are going through a lot of his energy, so kinda has a window here where he can just scoop. Oh, that laser does nothing to us. We got the Slurpuff down. Really, really nice with availability. Our opponent is thinking hard. Maybe he didn't really notice that we had a Slurpuff. I mean, since we have it, might as well just play the hammer, right? I mean, the laser. Might as well get rid of it. Or maybe not. I guess if he has ends, he would much rather shuffle them back, because I'm going to be going aggressive with this Bunnelby and just start discarding cards from his deck. Don't really know if there's something that I'd rather shuffle back, like the hammers, but at this point I'm not really sure if that's going to help us or not. Let's just wait until our turn starts to see. Our opponent's taking a long time. I don't really know what he's thinking about. Does he have a bat in his hand that he can play and deal some damage with? I don't really know. In my eyes, there's really not much that the opponent can be doing right now. Okay, so he passes the turn. We can play the energy, but I think I'd rather save it, because my opponent might just lucky draw into a hammer and flip it. Then we would lose the turn with the Bunnelby. So yeah, I don't think there's much that we want to be shuffling. I don't know. I think I'm just going to go on the offensive here. Yeah. There's some hammers there, but I also have the Team Flare Grunt, so yeah, I think I'd just rather go with a milling option. Just trying to close out this game as fast as I can, because at this point I'm not really worried about anything. Might as well try to hit the energies with the milling, because that's another way that we can get rid of energies from our opponent. And we also got rid of an end. That's really nice. That's cards that my opponent will not be able to shuffle back. And he ends. All of our hands are going to be good at this point, I think. We got the life too, that's pretty nice. We can just put it down now. So the window has closed for my opponent to just kill us with the bats, and we actually managed to zero Zik, and Head Ringer is Seismitos. So right now I'm just really comfortable. I'm just going to start milling. Oh, and we hit the water energy, that's wonderful. And a Crobat. Wow, that was insane. Yeah, when there's really nothing that we'd rather have in our deck, it's just Burrow. It's a wonderful attack. Sometimes we got lucky and we managed to hit some really important cards from our opponent's deck. So other times, of course, we get unlucky and we hit useless cards, and then he draws into the cards that he needs, but oh well. Might as well, right? Okay, our opponent, I don't think he can do much here. I think this is pretty much game. I don't really want to keep drawing cards at this point. I just want to mill my opponent. And there's another water energy. That's insane. I think my opponent is out of energy at this point. Don't really know if he has anything left, so I think we got him. I mean, 3 water energy. Sometimes these kind of decks play 4, but I can't see more than 4 water energy, and maybe one of them is prized, so at this point I think this is just game. I'm just going to mill my opponent to death. And there's another goal, but we should go, maybe could knock out our Slurpuff, I don't really know. Oh, there's a Crobat, okay. Crobat, I don't even know where I would put the damage from the Crobat. I guess if I were my opponent, I mean, that Slurpuff is kinda close to, I don't really know. I mean, if I were my opponent and if I had a water energy left, I think I'd go for the Bunnelby that's in front, because my opponent didn't see me play any other energy, so he kinda knows that if I lose this Bunnelby, that's it. Supposing that I don't have any other energy left, so as far as my opponent goes, he goes for the Slurpuff. I don't think I would do that. As I said, I think his only out was me not having another energy and him having a water energy that he could just use the Crobat with afterwards. So at this point I'm just going to burrow him to death. It's looking really grim for my opponent. I don't really think there's much they can be doing right now. Our hand is insane, of course. We can just discard pretty much any energy that he plays. We have Lysanders, we have Via Seekers that we don't really need. Okay, I think the plan is still the same. We just mill. And now my opponent has to play an N or else he just loses here, because I'll be milling his last card. So let's see what happens. Does my opponent have an N? Or a Via Seeker for an N? That also works, I think. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 10 cards, so if he ends, he would be left with 5 cards. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 Ns, and 1, 2, 3 Via Seekers. Okay, so maybe my opponent plays the 4th Via Seeker, I don't really know, and the flip fails. Oh man, that's just, I don't know. There's really nothing my opponent could be doing here. But because the damage didn't go to the Bunnelby in the first place, I guess even if the scoop hit, it would be game. Yeah, my opponent does not have another end, so I'm just going to finish the game in style. I'm going to shuffle something back, I guess, the Mono, whatever. And yeah, it's a victory for us. Yay, we got there. We got to lock our opponent's Seismitoad deck. The supporters, as I said, are really important after we are item locked, just so that we can remove energy from our opponent while under item lock, which is pretty insane against those decks. We managed to hit all the DCs, and then the opponent was just in a terrible position. Even though he had the bats, I mean, I could just eventually just build a Bunnelby anyway, so there's that. I think we kind of got lucky with the Muna at the beginning, which kind of let us set up, which is the worst part for this deck. As long as we set up all those Slurpuffs, we're going to be fine, I think. So yeah, that's the match for you guys. Hopefully you like this, and see you guys next time. Bye!